miss your blue skies. I miss your clear blue skies and drinking water streams. I miss your mountains. I miss your sunrise and your watercolor scenes. Ooh, Alaska, I'm coming home. I'm coming home.
For 6 years, Jay Hammond and his crew have journeyed across Alaska. Down the trail, they met over 68 unique Alaskans, doing unusual, uplifting, often courageous things in a land they trade for no other. As a pilot, commercial fisherman, writer, homesteader, and former governor, Jay's life mirrors the character and spirit of those Alaskans who have carved out a life to their own design. Alaskam is proud to have sponsored the Jay Hammond's Alaska series, an enduring tribute to the grandeur of Alaska's land and the warmth of its people. Join us for a celebration of the wonderful people who call Alaska home.
Alaska, I'm coming home.
How about that?
Alaska.
Thousands of Alaska's early pioneers, while traveling through interior Alaska to mine, trap, or search for gold, found a home-like atmosphere in its many roadhouses. Most of those roadhouses are now gone, but there are remnants of those early days, reminding us of pioneer skills and ingenuity. The Manley Roadhouse, built in 1906, still survives. Along with it, that pioneering spirit and its new owners, Bob and Patty Lee.
I just hate to see things lost. It's part of history.
I would not like to see a new structure. I like the Roadhouse. It has flavor, it has character, and it just has a real warm feeling, and I don't think you'd ever get that in a new building.
When I bought the Roadhouse, Jay, it was pretty rustic. And it was falling in and whatever, and I had no money, and so I had to learn it all.
Bob learned it all, it seems, as he and Patty restored the Roadhouse to its early glory. In doing so, they increased their appreciation of the past. So far, it has taken over 10 years, as they also worked on various other jobs.
Yeah, hi guys.
Hi. Besides running the Roadhouse, Bob is postmaster and storekeeper.
Bob, you hardly seem to be a captive of routine drudgery. You've got several irons in the fire, this being but one of them.
Yeah, post office only keeps me busy about a third of the day.
I see.
And the Roadhouse keeps me busy the other third, and every now and then I get a little bit of time to myself.
Is one of the things that attracted you to Manly the fact that you've got probably a little more to do than you can perhaps accomplish one day and you never have time to think about leaving?
Well, that's one reason I can't leave. But I just didn't want to be stuck in an office all my life. I went to be interviewed, and I looked, and I said, everybody in a three-piece suit and a little briefcase and an umbrella, and I said, I don't want to do this.
But you haven't worn a necktie frequently in Manly, I'll bet.
No, not never.
Bob, tell me a little bit about a typical day at the shop.
Well, I run the post office 8 hours a day. Then after that, immediately come over here, bartend until my bartender comes on shift. Then I end up doing a couple hours of bookkeeping every night. Any breakdown, any carpentry work, haul all my own supplies. I mean, I've done everything. I mean, I do everything. Everything you can think of. Empty garbage, you know. They say, who's the owner around here? And I say, look at the guy emptying the garbage, you know.
If I don't have a challenge, I get bored.
Patty has her full share of jobs and interests, too. She has a special passion for airplanes as a pilot and a skilled aircraft rebuilder. I was glad to lend a clumsy hand, but relax, only to help carry a wing she was rebuilding.
How many of these do you do a year, Patty?
Oh, this will be my third, and then I've got a fourth one I'm doing here probably in a little while. Thanks for helping me carry this.
You're welcome. I wasn't about to let you carry it all by yourself, as much as I'd like to.
I've never been able to manage it.
What got you interested in this aspect of flying?
Well, I owned a T-craft and it got blown over in an airport in Ketchikan. And it was a matter of necessity. If I wanted to fly, I was going to have to fix it, and I ended up really enjoying it.
I see. It seems like it would be almost therapeutic.
It is.
Relaxing.
It is. When you're done, you can look at it and you say, look what I've done with my time.
These days, Patty and her stepson Dave are going to school to get their airframe and power plant mechanics licenses. And it's a very long commute.
Sunday, about 4 o'clock, David and I will get in the truck and drive to Fairbanks, which is about a 3-hour drive. Get up the next morning about 7 for school. School starts at 7:40 to 4:10 with a half-hour off for lunch. It's 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Then right after school, Friday, we usually leave town about 7, make it into Manley around 11, get up the next morning and do the baking.
Then start all over again, eh?
Do it all the time.
They do things. Oh, my goodness. I'm supposed to wrap around all that at one time?
Yeah.
Boy. Glad my crew will have seen that. The early Roadhouse was home to many resilient souls, and still is. What are the type of things you've lived in the bush? What are the things a guy has to do that, you know, instead of a master of one trade, you got to be a master of many of them?
Well, that's true. You got to be able to, well, like when I was freighting on the river, you had to be able to rebuild your own boat, rebuild your barges if it needed it, and you had to be able to repair your own engines, anything like that, because you couldn't afford to get it done.
You take a lot for granted when I lived in the city. If you left for work, you called somebody up to fix your furnace or whatever before you got home. But here you've got to do it yourself.
Have you seen folk come up here that may be able to do one thing well, but only one thing well? How do they make out?
Not worth a damn. As a rule, they go back outside.
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
Do that one thing well out there.
Yeah.
And you learn how to do everything.
Challenges out of necessity.
Just like those early pioneers whose sharpened skills cut down to size the enormous challenges of frontier life, Bob and Patty have learned great self-sufficiency. And while doing so, have saved an historic part of our Alaskan heritage.
I'm pretty proud of the Roadhouse, you know. It's part of the history of Manley.
It has a sense of time that when people walk in here, it's like they're transported back.
Back when I was still doing time in this building as governor of the state of Alaska, occasionally the barrage of paperwork, onslaught from petitioners, and fallout from explosive decisions often made me long for some safe haven far from the frontline political trenches. Since this entailed beating retreat from temporary quarters here in Juneau to our remote Lake Clark homestead, it was seldom I was permitted to escape. Happily, as an alternative, Bella and I found a welcome retreat from political pounding much closer to Juneau, in majestic Glacier Bay National Park. Glacier Bay is an ecological wonderland in a primordial setting. Amongst massive glaciers calving into pristine sea pastures, one has a sense of constant rebirth. At the mouth of Glacier Bay lies one of our favorite communities, Gustavus. Here, the gastronomically famed Gustavus Inn was started by old friends Jack and Sally Lesh.
Hi.
Hi there.
Jack and Sally settled here to raise their large and thriving family. Now, the Lesh's children and grandchildren run the inn, known for its wonderful food, friendly folk, and fine gardens.
Apple. One apple?
Grandchildren, Jeff, Dan, and Anna, share the chores at the inn, while sons John and David
create fantastic food fare. Dave's wife, Joanne, among other things, tends the garden. David and Joanne are now the owners and continue to build the inn's reputation as a favorite 4-star Alaskan hostelry. Jack still helps out and told me what first lured them here from the East Coast over 30 years ago.
The little town we lived in, Falmouth, had a population of about 10,000 in the winter, but in the summer it was about 35,000. It was just a crazy situation with all the weekend tourists coming down, so we didn't like that very much. And it just happened that the old Alaska Sportsman had an article about Gustavus in it, and we'd read that article and thought, gee, that sounds just exactly like the kind of a place we'd like to live.
Jack closed his medical practice, and they both mobilized their 8 children for the long bus ride north.
We bought a school bus in Boston, and it had a big rack on top, and we had a canoe up there, we had spare tires up there, stove, teepee poles, and we set up a huge camp every night for 3.5 months.
Their trip was closely observed. Since it was, to what was then, a remote and romantic frontier, it caught the imagination of stateside media photographers, some of whom accompanied them on part of their Alaskan safari.
It was nice because we didn't have a camera at that time, or if we did, we didn't have the time to take pictures with all those children in that whole camp.
Once here, they raised their family and surpassed their dream of running a successful inn.
It started very slowly as a tourist attraction because at the same time the Glacier Bay Lodge was being built, and tourists were coming there very slowly too. So we learned very slowly, and it was a good thing we did because, you know, we just learned how to cope with the whole thing.
Played a big part in that wedding, you know.
There you go. Look at here. Not surprisingly, son David has mastered the culinary arts of the kitchen. After all, he apprenticed under a superb teacher, his mother Sally. Her sorcery with a saucepan never ceased to amaze us while she was our cook at the governor's house.
Let me show off the fish. Can I show this lovely fresh king salmon?
Look at here.
Bob, this was caught near Sitka yesterday.
Where did you get the idea for all these wonderful recipes which have been traditionally served at the inn, apparently?
Well, I just served them at home and just made them a little bit bigger, I guess,
I see.
and served it at the inn. I always figured that good food, well prepared, I mean, fresh vegetables and produce, well prepared, was perfect. That's all anybody wants or needs. You don't have to make it fancy, just good.
We've always eaten, you know, from gardens and raised a lot of our own food and done a lot of our own, you know, even butchering. And even before you came to Alaska, Mom and Dad had a big farm, and just a home farm, and put up a lot of our stuff. So I grew up eating good food.
Many of your guests come from large urban areas, L.A., New York, San Francisco, have a choice of going anywhere they want in the world. Why do you suppose they chose Gustavus?
Our guests want to be participants in you know, they don't want to sit like on a cruise ship and observe things go by. They want to participate by going out fishing, by doing the kayaking, by even just bike riding and visiting with the people that are here.
Here, Bella and I met Bonnie Caden and her partner, Kara Bird. Together, they own and operate Glacier Bay Sea Kayaks.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
It's great.
Bonnie brought us to say hello to another old friend, her husband, Hayden, who, having happily left his attorney shingle behind in Juneau, finds much to keep him busy at home in this special place they have discovered. How you doing, kid?
Hi, Bella.
Well, it's beautiful. It's the center of the universe is right out there, about 30 yards, I think. It's open land. We were children of the 60s, right? We were the 60s in Juneau, and in those days you were supposed to move to the country and build a little cabin and raise a lot of peaches and
your TV, throw away your paper.
So you were part of the 60s
Right.
mentality.
we had to try it.
Another resident, Amy Humans, was born and raised here. It makes some of the best smoked salmon Bella and I have been lucky enough to sink a tooth into. So what are you doing now, Amy?
This is my secret sauce. This is the spice is nice, you know. It's salt, sugar, and spice. It's a dry brine. I think that's kind of an unusual way to approach things on a commercial basis, but I do because it's the way I always did it before I started the business.
Salt
Smells.
plus other spices.
It's
huh?
salt, sugar, and secret spice.
Secret spices, okay.
Smells
That smells
wonderful.
great, you bet.
We just finished a smoke load here. I smoke a lot of other people's fish, sports
All right.
caught fish.
Custom.
So, yeah, custom smoking. Yeah, I have the whole school of fish here. I have halibut, coho, pink. There's some king up here.
Oh, I see a yummy piece there I'd like to sample.
Yeah, I cook those up for crew
Looks
and for
wonderful.
guests.
What is it?
Thank you.
It's the little pieces that we cut off around the, well, it's the fins. The fins and around the collar.
Delicious.
Eat those.
Prove it.
Just take a bite.
Do you have plans to expand, or are there competitors
Well, I always
moving in,
have-
or what?
No, I don't see any competitors, really. We share in this community.
The community shares their good fortune abundantly, and all seem happily busy while doing so. A very independent, loose cluster of some 200 residents. They like their unstructured government and absence of outside interference. They've no desire to re-experience all the stress, strain, and restrictions. Most are hoping to leave in their wake on arrival.
The last of the great independent Alaskans, I think, live right here.
Many visitors come here hoping also to share, if but briefly, that sense of independence, along with the drama, majesty, and that primordial feeling of seeming close to a world still evolving.
I actually like to just sit, just like we were doing back there, without paddling, and just hang out with them. I don't have to be at a real close range. I like to hear them.
These independent stalwarts have made and hope to retain Gustavus as a unique outpost, guarding the portals to one of the most cherished splendors to be found in Alaska. May they be ever diligent and successful. Grandfatherhood has reopened some doors to the past I'd not entered for several years. Once inside, I found myself looking for something special my grandchildren might enjoy for Christmas. The night sky held its breath. Only a few lazy flakes of snow tumbled through the darkness. The sled dogs were curled in tight knots on top of their little houses. They too were silent, almost as if they were waiting for something special or someone special. In my search, I unearthed a treasure trove of children's books, which permitted me to share with granddaughter Lauren and grandson Jay some of the special bounty lavished upon those of us fortunate enough to live in Alaska. The genies conjuring up these delightful books are writer Shelley Gill and artist Shannon Cartwright. These two remarkably different women with remarkably similar dedication are the inspiration for and the owners of a unique publishing house, perhaps kennel would be more appropriate, known as Pause 4. They have crossbred their talents to produce a litter of 8 children's books, selling over 100,000 copies each. While introvert Shannon paints in the solitude of her wilderness home north of Talkeetna, extrovert Shelley effervescently writes and handles the business 200 miles away in Homer.
I was a journalist for years, and I covered cops and courts. And it was really kind of a counterpoint to the stories that I was writing, to write something really positive for children.
Sam cautiously slid back the bolt. An old man stood in the moonlight. Dark eyes shone from wrinkled brown skin. A wisp of sparse white whiskers brushed against the most beautiful parka I'd ever seen. His mittens and mucklucks were trimmed in soft fur and beaded and tied with gold braid. He smiled and nodded hello. My name's Nick.
It's the Alaska way. If you want to do something, do it yourself. Don't wait for somebody to do it. You know, say yes or no or tell you how to do it. And so we checked out books from the library and read about publishing and where the markets were and basically just dove right in.
Though ostensibly children's books, Shannon and Shelley's creations are not only appreciated by the small fry, adults have grown to love them as well. From the ABCs to the antics of dinosaurs and the Alaska mother goose, both parents and teachers have found the books convey valuable lessons on par with textbooks.
It didn't really dawn on me to do children's books until after I'd run the Iditarod, and I thought that would be such a great children's tale, you know, especially about my lead dog and after, you know, the wonderful adventure I'd had. Ideas come from, you know, all different places. Something that we're intrigued in doing, you know, illustrating. Danger of the Dog-Yard Cat, the idea came from Libby Riddles got up in front of 800 people at the Iditarod banquet and sang. And I thought, how can this be? This woman is beautiful, she won the Iditarod, and she can sing too. And I thought, we got to do something with her where she sings.
Ah, kitty, no use to look for me. I won't be where I should be. I won't be laying inside. I'll be out on a sled taking a ride. Not a spouse cat, house cat, mouse cat. I'm a lead cat, speed cat, free cat. Don't expect me to purr and play. I'm used to doing things my own way.
Shannon and I work very closely together, even though we do live so far apart. She'll come spend 2 weeks with me. We'll look at drawings, and we overlap a lot. I'll have ideas for illustrations. She does a lot of work on the text. So we really have kind of a symphony going on, you know, that's really, I think, really benefits the reader.
She has no phone, so you can't pick her up and pick it up and...
No, to get her on the phone, you send a bush line through KYAK, and she skis 17 miles to the railroad. And the last time I tried that, she broke her leg, so I don't do that much anymore.
The blue face of the moon beckoned us closer, and we went faster and faster, and until it seemed we would fly. Look at them go. See them flying?
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, Nick called to the dogs. They slowed and stopped at a low ridge above a small village. A smoky orange glow encircled the worn wooden houses. Where are we? I asked, breathless. Kick-it up.
You know, you imagine doing business the way we do. I mean, Shannon lives deep in the bush, no road system nearby, you know, and dumb stuff happens. A bear breaking into her studio and eating all of her paints and turpentine. You know, I mean, it did. It tore the place apart. Well, that set us back 2 weeks. I mean, she had to go to town, get the stuff, take it home. The most wonderful thing about her is she lives what we write about. She really lives in the mountains and draws all of her inspiration and energy from the wild places. And Shannon grew up in Detroit, and she always dreamed of the mountains. And I think she's very childlike in that way. She dreams of the mountains. She imagines what it would be like to be an inch tall living in the muskeg. And it's difficult for her to come into the city and all the hubbub of the city. But she's very much at home in the woods, and I really admire that about her.
Hi, Shannon.
Hi, Jay. How are you?
Nice to see you.
Hi, Jay.
Hi. How are you? Some folks believe life on our fairly remote Lake Clark homestead is challenging. But let me tell you, by contrast to the Eagle's Nest where Shannon Cartwright has perched for 14 years, Our lifestyle resembles that of sedentary city slickers. To those of us unused to rappelling our way to our front doors, the almost perpendicular pathway which leads to Shannon's suggests she's not unduly bothered by itinerant magazine salespersons nor pandering politicians. Not surprisingly, Shannon and husband Gary go for weeks seeing no one but each other. It's a testament to their abundant inner resources and extraordinary self-reliance that such isolation has left them remarkably sane, while tending to shore up, rather than shatter, the warm relationship they have with each other, the land, and those of us privileged to get to know them.
I really like being up high and getting a good view. And I like being on the edge of a mountain here, you know, where we can easily get up higher for a better view.
But what are we doing here, asked Sam. Helping out, Nick said as he pulled his sack from the sled. This village is having hard times, so we come to share some Christmas magic. He showed us what was inside his sack. Jars of ripe berries and jam, smoked fish, and spiced meat. But people need more than just meat for the body. We brought some food for the spirit as well. He pointed to our sacks. I reached inside and pulled out a beautiful golden glass crystal that hung from a piece of blue silk. Reversing the modern trend to happily abandon the chores of rural life for the creature comforts of city living, ex-Detroiter Shannon Cartwright exults in the physical effort involved in not only getting back to the basics, but going a step beyond. Sometimes a lot of steps.
I love doing my chores. I love to be able to go down, stop painting and go down and carry water and see what's happening at the creek. And yeah, I'd go sort of crazy if I didn't have my chores to get me outside.
Here, so what'd you do with your stick? You better get your stick or you're gonna have to carry water pretty soon. Cheers, come here. You're gonna help. You do this every day.
When I heard Shannon, instead of aerobics, got her exercise packing 5 gallons of water a day, I confess I was not too impressed. Till I found out she packed it almost straight up.
I also like living off the land as much as possible. Like we use firewood for heating and for cooking. We generate electricity from our solar panels for radio and our music and small tools. We can and dry meat and berries, and we also grow as many vegetables to get us through the winter as we can.
Nick handed us each a sack. Hang them up and then meet me back here. And hurry, we don't have much time. Racing from one small plank out to the next, Sam and I hung crystals from nails, hooks, fish racks, and wooden windows.
I've always drawn ever since I was real little, and I guess I was really lucky. My parents always encouraged me. So I've always done artwork. I don't know what I'd do without doing my artwork. When I'm doing a book, I need 2 or 3 months of no interruptions. That's one reason why I live out here, is because I like the peace and quiet. I put in 10 to 18 hours a day. I really like doing the books because I'm putting out my love of Alaska, my feeling for the country. It's really neat that so many kids are able to enjoy, to see my view of Alaska. And like we have 500,000 books out now. I think it's really exciting to have so many people enjoying the books.
I think when I look back, this will probably be more lasting than all those newspaper stories that I did. This is going to have an effect way down the road, you know, but I hope it's the kind of effect that will save some of the wild places that we have and spark a real love of the land and love of adventure and self-sufficiency and self-esteem, you know, in the children who read my books. I know it's asking for a lot, but if it just changes, you know, a few kids, it allows them to feel good about the way they live, particularly kids in Alaska, to feel proud of the things they know, even though they may not be valued in New York City. You know, their self-sufficiency is what's going to make a difference in their life.
Moments before midnight, we were home. Nick and his reindeer were off again in a flash. I'll be back in time for dinner, he promised. Sam waited for me at the door of the cabin. Aunt Susan will never believe that, he whispered. I nodded, but just before I followed them inside, I heard a clear, sweet voice say, yes, she will. I whirled around to see old Minto, winking at Kobuk beneath the twinkling Christmas sky. How about that? And there they are, going into the northern lights. Through the years we've been producing this program, we've had the privilege of visiting Alaskans all over the state. Though many times this may have been in the dead of winter, we found Alaskans who gave that winter life by keeping busy and productive and treating what winter brings as a gift, not a grief. On this trip, we'll visit the people of Savunga, a small village on St. Lawrence Island located 145 miles off the northwest coast of Alaska.
Welcome to Savunga. Thank you. How are you? Fine. What's your name? Bernard. Bernard. Julie. Hi. How are you?
Savunga is one of the friendliest villages in Arctic Alaska, perhaps because it's one of the busiest. Here, folks keep active through the long winter with an unusual range of activities. Join us now as we visit Savunga and share a rare glimpse into the everyday life of a remote and remarkable village. Our first visit was to Annie Aloha, who took us out to check her fox traps. Annie is an incredibly hard-working woman who, as long as I was there, never slowed down and didn't let me slow down a bit either.
Pretty little animal, aren't they? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Got a lot of them around here, huh?
Yeah, there's a lot of them here.
Then Annie took us to a long-abandoned village site, famous for the wealth of ancient artifacts which have been found there.
Somebody must have caught seal or something over here.
You're out hunting seal?
Yeah.
This is the old village. What's the name of it?
Kukulik.
And how old? Real old? Long before Savunga?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When was it abandoned, do you think?
My grandmother used to say that they had some kind of measles.
Oh, I'll be darned. They all died, huh?
Yeah, they all died.
Huh. You came over here, though, just to look at the old site when you were a little kid, huh?
Yeah. I used to come along with my uncle because he do that digging over here.
Well, they dug into the village. You found a lot of artifacts, did you
Yeah,
hear?
they do. They used to find lots of artifacts and old ivory.
Do they ever have any idea how old, how many years ago were they?
2,000 over years, probably.
2,000 years. Huh?
Yeah, pull it. There. You're strong.
2x2.
Next, I helped Annie gather firewood for the first of 3 hauls she made that day.
Yeah, you were telling me you don't use a chainsaw, huh?
No, I don't.
Why is that?
I was trained by using the hand saws. Only lazy people use the machine.
I'm guilty.
Keep you young.
Keep you young, yeah.
Thanks for helping me.
You're welcome.
But that wasn't the end of Annie's grueling work schedule. We returned to the village to join her and a few generations of kinfolk gathered about in Annie and Nelson's living room. Just as I was ready to call it a day, Annie embarked on a few hours of skin sewing. So I relaxed and joined the family in watching their home videos of a successful whaling hunt.
You used to sail a lot?
Yeah. In other words, we just learned how to catch the wind.
But the motor will scare them, huh?
Yes.
Annie, the ewes that you're making now, and who are you making it for?
I'm making snowsuit for this baby.
Yeah, that would be dandy.
There's the bowhead.
Are there 2 of them there?
No, one.
Just one, huh? Look at that. Oh, yeah.
No, I did strike.
You hit it?
Harpoon, yes.
Huh.
Annie's granddaughters modeled her latest fashions.
Yeah, those are beautiful. What do we got here? That looks like a skunk park. Where did you ever get skunk? You didn't find them on St. Lawrence Island up there.
I treat these in Anchorage.
Oh, I see. Huh, makes a beautiful party. I bet Mr. Skunk never thought he'd end up in Savunga.
At the Savunga School, we found the village's eldest, Jimmy Tooley, passing on traditions well seasoned through his 86 winters. Jimmy was a child in one of the first 4 families to establish Savunga in 1914.
Long time ago, always we teach, all people teach us, just like that. Mm-hmm. Now school children, I teaching myself for Eskimo dance. Mm-hmm. Before, not Eskimo dance, for hunting, long time ago, for hunting. Mm-hmm. Hunting for seal or. Now, I teach him for Eskimo dance, because he was this small children is listening to me always, yeah. That's why now he's looking for me again, so he listen to me.
I'm glad to see you passing it on to the kids. I think that's very important.
I got one more. 215, it was,
another class?
Yeah, another class I was.
Pretty full schedule, it looks like to me, Jimmy.
215.
Then we were treated to humor, Savunga style. A group of women called the Savunga Comedy Players have delivered this act to international audiences. They started their performance nearly 20 years ago with a special goal in mind.
We were Head Start parents trying to raise money for Head Start. We didn't expect it to be comedy players.
Well, now, when you started out, most of you were mothers with kids
perhaps in Head Start. Now you're...
We was parents. Right now we're
Now
grandmothers.
you're grandma.
Yeah.
You're still doing the same thing. Do you think you'd be doing it 20 years later when you started out?
I was trying to retire.
You were going to retire?
Yeah.
You're never going to
Try-
retire.
Yeah.
In the old days, did they do this sort of thing? Have kind of comedy, didn't call it comedy, but funny, didn't do that, huh?
Yeah. I was just trying to be a beautiful lady, not comedy.
I think you succeeded,
Yeah.
Kathy. I think you all did. You're all beautiful ladies.
Yeah.
Tomato sauce. Green bell peppers. Parmesan cheese. Usually they put the pepperoni on top, but we found it tastes better the other way around. This mozzarella cheese. Done pepperoni pizza.
Next day, we made a stop that surprised me. A pizza parlor in downtown Savunga. The recently opened pizza parlor was the brainchild of some Savunga students who wanted to combine a business with pleasure. And a pleasure it was. Richard, one wouldn't normally expect to find a pizza parlor here in Savunga. Tell me, how did you get started?
A student in our school suggested that we open a small business like a hamburger stand or a pizza restaurant. So we decided to go with a pizza restaurant.
Is this strictly a private operation, or do the proceeds go into some activities, or what?
About half of the profits go on a trip. The students agreed not to get paid so that they could possibly go on a trip like to the Iditarod.
Oh.
And the half would probably start a new business.
What do you think's been the impact on the community? A positive one, or?
Yeah, a positive one. Parents know that where their kids are sometimes during at night. They know they're not in trouble outside, so it's been positive.
Good. Give me your plate.
I have no plate.
Well, you don't have a plate. Well, give me your fingers then.
I'll take it for
Farthest north pizza in the world. Very good. But this Polar Pizza Parlor was not to be our only cultural jolt. Later that day, we were introduced to the Arctic Knights, a group of young men who heat up the winter's chill with a rock and roll beat, done in Yupik. You guys, that's your own original composition. I didn't understand the lyrics. You'll have to go back. Do you do all your lyrics in Eskimo language, or?
No. This is the very first one we've done.
Oh, this is the first one? Oh. Is there a message in these songs, or is it something you're trying to get across to the kids, or to the world, or what?
This song is to influence the kids to stay in school. How fun it is and what benefits they'll get for...
Get them more encouraged.
Yeah.
Learn as much as they can and be aware of what's up in the future and whatever might come around to hold on to life.
Ben,
Your music is a little different than traditional Eskimo village music. What's going to be their reaction to that of the other people in the village?
Well, I think it's going to be a different reaction because of the lyrics being in Yupik.
Will they resent it, or?
I doubt it. But if it had a little bit of traditional drum sounds in the background, that would make a good combination. But I think they would approve of it. The Eskimo traditional songs have rock and roll in it.
While at first one might feel the Savunga people lead a life of rigorous hardship and deprivation, it's not long before one senses that while they may be shortchanged in coin of the realm, through self-reliance, hard work, and faith, they are exceedingly rich in coin of the spirit. Having lived here for 8 years as governor, visiting Juneau brings back lots of memories. Some of them fond, certainly all of them fond when it comes to recalling the friendly folk, the spectacular scenery, and Juneau's flavor of old-time Alaska. My wife Bella and I like to come back every so often to check up on all three, and not just to thump on the legislature.
Hey, how are you guys? Gee, it's been a long time since I've seen you. Hello, watch my arm. I
Good to
broke
see
it.
you. Yeah,
Hi,
I see
Jay.
you've been breaking things up again.
Yeah, my arm. What a pest.
We caught up to Ree Munoz, one of our favorite people and one of Alaska's favorite artists. She took us to the Ree Munoz Gallery, now owned and operated by her son Juan, and a must-stop for all who are visiting Juneau. While other artists look to Alaska's magnificent scenery for their inspiration, Ree is known for snaring snippets of the everyday commonplace, then turning them loose to cavort and caper in a whirl of bright watercolors filled with whimsy, warmth, and affection. Hers is a wondrous, childlike world into which adults are permitted free passage, a world perhaps as it ought to be.
I like to paint ordinary things, everyday things that people do, mending a net, or fishing, or picking berries.
Ree is an Alaskan original, flattered to be occasionally copied. Though her fame has flowered internationally, her roots are still firmly planted in southeast Alaska. From here, she branches out, searching for scenes to lift from life, mold in her mind, and then daub with a riot of color.
When I go to an Eskimo village, for instance, I sketch just about everything in sight. I walk around, and when I see something that strikes my fancy, then I make sketches of it and do a painting.
got some renovations, eh?
Yeah, I had a new porch put in this summer.
Ree took us to her home, perched somewhat precariously on a hillside near Juneau, where she verbally sketched in events which brought her north.
Oh, I was working at the Broadway department store in Los Angeles at the time in 1950, and I had a vacation coming up, and I had a certain amount of money, and I was trying to figure out where shall I go. So I got out a map and figured that this money would take me this distance. So I drew that radius and then a circle with Los Angeles in the center, and just looked to see which spots it hit. And Alaska was by far the most interesting. But then I came up just on a round trip on the Princess Louise, and got to Juneau. It was a beautiful day, and I suddenly had the inspiration, I'll get off while the boat goes on to Skagway and back to Juneau again, and see if I can get a job and a place to live. And I did, both. And so when the boat came back, I took off my suitcase and wired the Broadway department store saying, I quit. Started at Nenana.
Ree's small two-story home has her studio on the top floor, where she showed us some of her work.
This is Russian Mission, and these two people were cleaning fish right on the beach, surrounded by hundreds of seagulls. Just a marvelous sight. And so I did this quick sketch, and I did do a painting of this one. And then one day we saw a bear on the shore, marching in this direction, and just around the bend here there was a fish camp with a lot of fish hung up, and 2 tents where the people stayed in. So we were wondering what's going to happen, you know, by the time that bear gets there.
You weren't able to stick around.
No, we zoomed right on by. Yeah. So what I do with these sketches is that's all I do when I go out on these trips. I just sketch and then take them home and see how I can work them into a painting. And see, I take color notes. RR means rust red. S means silver. BK, of course, is black. BN, brown. B itself is blue. So anyhow, that's this
Did
one.
you take art in school? Study art?
Not seriously, no, I didn't. No. You know, this spring I went on the Tustamina to Unalaska. Did a lot of sketching along the way, of course. And one of the things I sketched was this scene of 4 women playing poker. And this is all I have, these 4 heads, and this is the back of this one. And here's what I have, and so now here I'm trying to develop it. That might be the next painting I'll do. I've done this, shows the window and one of the mountains and birds flying over. Here a young man is sitting on this couch reading a book. And here I've developed it a little bit further. And I'll probably end up doing maybe 4 or 5 more rough sketches of it before I actually put it on watercolor paper and start painting.
Ree took us to her favorite second home, Teneke Springs, a tiny southeast Alaska town of a few dozen folk. Teneke is known for its hot springs, bathhouse, one road, few telephones, and as the site of many of Ree's well-loved paintings.
Well, Jay and Bella, I'll show you some of the places that I've sketched around here, and then I've also done paintings of. And this first one I did right here from my deck. Now, one thing that's always appropriate to put in a Teneke picture is somebody with a towel under their arm, because they're either going to the bath or they're coming back. And this man wasn't around at all, but of course I just put him in. One of the reasons people come to Teneke is because of this marvelous mineral hot spring here. I did this one in '78, so things have changed, colors especially. There was no telephone booth there at the time.
Blocking the viewing window, right?
That's right, and you can tell that that's just a figment of my imagination for those 2 guys at the right who are not paying the least bit of attention to who's in the bath.
The dogs are, though.
To this day, the dogs that are lying outside belong to people who are inside bathing.
So you know who's there, huh?
Exactly. You see, the hours for men and women are posted very clearly.
Oh, sorry.
Ree's Dutch upbringing, love of simplicity and the everyday life, was evident as she showed us what inspires her and how she translates that inspiration into her vibrant art.
The painting is called Jessie's Flowers.
Oh, what?
Jessie's Flowers.
Jessie's Flowers.
At the time, Jessie lived there, and she had a great many flowers on her deck. It was just beautiful.
That's an interesting aerial tramway.
Isn't that interesting?
There's no visible means
That's
of
called
support.
artist's license.
I see. Yeah.
I have a lot of that.
Okay, I've noticed that. Yeah.
Well, I did this picture of the Blue Moon Cafe from the hill back here.
What are these trees doing?
Well, those aren't trees, Jay. Those are mountains. How could you?
A little more artistic license. huh?
Yeah, right.
But there's a point beyond which you wouldn't go.
No,
You wouldn't
definitely
put
not.
trees right in the water, huh?
No, not that, no.
Okay.
But I would do crooked chimneys.
I see that.
Actually, most
You
of the
can't-
chimneys here are straight.
You can't stand a straight chimney.
No,
up
I
here.
can't. I like to give them a little more character.
This old boy looks like he's slinking off after recently being booted.
He does, doesn't he? Poor devil.
What is it you find particularly appealing about painting in Teneke?
Well, all the buildings have such interesting and odd angles. They have various colors of paint jobs. You know, if you run out of one color of paint, well, then you just get another. Kind of dilapidated here and there. It has a lot of character, this little
I
town.
see. You don't have to exercise a lot of license to get a bent chimney
No,
here, do you?
right. No, right.
I see. We left Reed to her painting in the quiet of Teneke. Years from now, Reed will be remembered for the uncommon way she has captured scenes of what today is still fairly commonplace. Feeling many such scenes may be fast disappearing, she infuses each with a warm, vivid life, so they'll bring pleasure to new generations.
I have friends who say to me, well, Ree, when are you going to retire? By that they mean, when are you going to quit painting and start living? Well, I think this is living, you know. I just love to paint better than anything else.